Hello there. This is just a short video about money and about where we choose to spend it. There's a lot of talk about morality these days, about, what you should be doing, whether you should be an activist, whether you should be involved in the left or right of politics, if you should be involved in environmentalism or social justice, and lots of different things. Obviously all these areas don't appeal to everyone, and you get quite a wide spectrum of people, especially in the politics. You've got a huge amount of polarization at the moment, with people on the far left and the far right who absolutely detest each other, and then a fair number of people in the middle, and then of course there's a lot of people who are quite nihilistic. They don't really care about anything. They just want to get on with their life and they just don't care, which is fair enough, I suppose. I mean, I don't like that attitude myself, but people are free to not care if they don't feel like it, and I can understand a certain level of disgust or apathy with regard to politics anyway. All this fighting and all this division isn't really getting us anywhere, so I can understand people not wanting to bother with any of it. But one thing that does strike me is, if you do take a position in your life on various subjects, then what really makes a huge difference is where you choose to spend your money. If you're a nihilist and you just don't care, then obviously you don't care who you give your money to. You're just going to buy the best product or the cheapest or whatever you feel like, and you probably don't give a monkey's about who you're paying the money to. And to a large extent, I think a lot of corporations especially rely on that. They rely on the fact that people don't really think too deeply about what they're doing with their money and where it's going. At the end of the day, really, the biggest effect you can have on any organization or even an individual is your money, what you choose to do with it, and withholding or giving of that money. If you want to help Greenpeace, you can give them some money, and that will obviously help them. If you don't like, for instance, Nestle, that would be a company that I would never give any money to, ever. Then obviously the more people that do that, the more negative effect it has on their business. I mean, it is a multinational, huge corporation with its fingers in many pies, including pharmaceutical and health products, increasingly water, and of course very famous for coffee and chocolate. Now, I mean, there's some chocolate bars that I used to buy before they were owned by Nestle. One particular company called Rowntree's, I think, Rowntree Macintosh. They made some sweets I liked. Nestle bought them, and ever since that happened, I have never bought any of those products again. And to be honest, I'd be absolutely disgusted if I accidentally bought a Nestle product. So I've actually went to the trouble of looking on their website to find out all the brands that they own. Even there's a brand of cat food that I discovered we bought, which I no longer buy because they own it. And there's many other big brands, many other companies that I don't want anything to do with, like for instance Monsanto. I would not like to be guilty of buying any of their products. For some people, they might be wondering, what's the big problem with Nestle? What's the problem with Monsanto? But at the end of the day, if you care about your life, your lifestyle, what you do with your money and who you give it to, then it's worth taking a little bit of time to look into what you're doing with your money. Like I've heard many people saying, oh, Google this, Google that, want to go and Google something. Well, I don't want to give Google any money, partly because they just are quite happy to give over your data to governments, and they also make a lot of money out of your data. So I don't use their search engine at all. I don't use any of their software. Personally, I use one called Ecosia. It's a German website. Now, it's obviously international, and they actually use a lot of the money they get from their business to plant trees, which is something that interests me because I'm interested in environmentalism. So, if you look all through your life, there's different areas in where you spend money. You might decide that you think Nike are unethical. You don't want to subsidize, some Filipino pauper who's getting like 2p a day making shoes. You don't want to subsidize Nike doing that. And that, you could say, maybe that's going to affect the people there negatively, in that they won't have as much work. But ultimately, these kind of pressures you put on companies by boycotting them does have an effect, and perhaps gets them to change their ethics, their codes of conduct, and how they actually treat their employees. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about Amazon and how they treat their staff. I no longer support Amazon. I don't buy anything off Amazon anymore, and I've removed all the links from my website to their website. You can still buy my books on Amazon, but I personally am not promoting that in any way. The links I put up are for other companies. And I think it's important that you put your money where your mouth is, because it's very easy to talk about, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, or I think we should do this or that, regardless of whether you're on the left or the right, or whatever area of interest it might be. It might be environment, it might be animals, it might be veganism, whatever it happens to be that you're interested in terms of ethics and lifestyle. If you don't back that up with your own money, then it all seems a bit ridiculous to me. Taking a little bit of time to think about who you're supporting, where you're putting your money, who you're giving it to, because in a lot of cases it's quite hidden, and you don't realize that maybe your data is worth a lot of money, not just the money you spend as cash or with your cards with a particular company. So certainly in the area of technology, there's a lot of money to be made out of data. So that's something to look into, about what browser you use, what search engine you use, what kind of email you use, etc. What kind of phone companies you have as a provider, or who makes your phone, etc. These all have ethical questions attached to them when you consider the behavior of the companies behind this. Some of them are okay, some of them are really quite dodgy. So I think it's worth taking a little bit of time to think about that, to think about your money and the power that it has. It does have power to affect people, and enough people choose to boycott a product or boycott a company, it does have a negative effect, and it does in many instances cause them to change their behavior. So ultimately, as consumers, that's the only real power we have. We can complain all we like, but if we withdraw our money, that has a lot more impact than just writing an angry letter or something like that. So I'd encourage you in your own life to have a look at where you spend your money, and think about who you want to support and who you don't want to support. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.